Yes, yes. Freeze, my little Skellies. Freeze! This will do nicely. Hello there, and welcome back to AlphaCraft. Last time we left off with the opening of the elytra shop, and I think it turned out pretty well. But while we're at Spawn Island, I thought I would talk a little bit about one of the community projects I've been working on. I've mentioned before how I like doing the grindy tasks of Minecraft, and let's face it, life can get stressful at times, and I've found over the years that focusing on those mindless tasks that really don't need a whole lot of thought is a good way for me to let the stress of the day go, and while I'm doing that, I get something done on the side. Now, if it's a community project on top of that, then that's a huge bonus because it means on some level, I'm helping the server out. The main grindy task I've been working on since I joined the server is the project to turn Spawn Island green. Spawn is one massive mushroom island. Sometimes it's hard to communicate just how big the island is. It's roughly 1,000 blocks tall by 950 blocks wide. It is hands down the largest mushroom island I have ever seen. So it's no small project to greenify the island. When I started, I used the blunt force method and shoveled a whole lot of dirt and grass and just placed it on top of the mycelium. In fact, I gathered so much grass, I turned this whole mountain range bald. At some point, Rabbit showed me a new method where you turn all the mycelium into path blocks and then go back over it with a hoe. The tilled soil turns into dirt, and the dirt turns into grass. It's definitely a faster method, but not quite as satisfying as the brute force method is. The island is big, so I started using the shovel and hoe method, but not before placing 160,000 dirt and grass blocks. Now, it does need to be said, I definitely wasn't the only one working on this, but I think it's safe to say I did a large portion of it. Now let's run a bit of a time lapse of all the screenshots I took along the way. The island is now a little more green than that, but I stopped the time-lapse right before the Alpha by Water stream weekend. I'm still catching up on my backlog, so I didn't want to get ahead of myself and show that just yet. That said, we've made a lot of progress toward making the island green. There are plans for nearly every section of the island, so it should be interesting to see how it changes over time. But enough about greenifying the island. We're back at the shop for a reason. I recently discovered this at my shop. I think we can all agree that's just not okay. Now, this isn't so much a prank as someone trying to get between me and my diamonds. After much investigation, basically me asking, okay, who did this? And AlphaStar standing around with a guilty look on his face, I decided that if someone tries to talk people into not using elytras, then all I can do is advertise, advertise, advertise. Cue the time lapse! And here we have it. One nice little billboard strategically placed so it can be seen from every spot at AlphaStar's base. I think that's fair for someone starting up a no-fly club, don't you? Hopefully, this will be the only billboard I will have to build. Advertising billboards aside, I've been doing a lot of cave lighting under my base and managed to find a double Skelly spawner relatively close by. Now, I've found many double spawners over the years, but this is my first double Skelly spawner, so there was no way I wasn't going to make this into a bone meal farm. Now, I'm not going to go into the fine details of how to make a skeleton farm, as there are already thousands of videos out there for that. It's all pretty simple. I mean, you clear out a 9x9 cube around the spawner, you throw in water to push the skeletons to one side of the room, you redirect them to one specific spot in that room that leads them into a bubble vader. Pick a location where you want them to drop and direct the skeletons to that location with more water. The only real crucial part of it all is to remember the trigger distance on the spawner. Now, I'm trying to do a double spawner, so my kill chamber needs to be no further than 15 blocks from either spawner. 16 blocks if you want to count the spawner itself. The only real advice I have on this that is sometimes skipped over in the farm videos is try and plan the whole room around the idea that whether you are at the kill chamber or sorting through item storage, you will still be triggering both spawners. It's not always the easiest thing to achieve, but if you can, you want to do it. And there we have a functioning farm. Now, I had to get a little creative with the water streams to get them both to the same drop chute, but it seems to be working. Now to add in some item sorting. And with item sorting, the old standby will always be Impulse's design. The one thing I do that differs from the basic design is I always place a light block wherever a redstone torch will go. It's a bit of overkill, but my thinking on it is this. Even with the improvements Mojang has made over the years in reducing lighting lag, lighting update lag still exists on some level. Unlike redstone dust, comparators, or repeaters, redstone torches actually produce light. When they turn on and off, they change the light level in an area. So by placing a redstone torch on a light block, there is zero chance of lighting update lag created by redstone torches. For this purpose, jack-o'-lanterns are always a very cheap alternative to do the job. Now I've installed a water stream to run over the hoppers, and it seems to be working, but in case you've ever wondered why you put a cap block on top of a bubble vader, that's why. Just look at how high into the air it's shooting those items. I would love to leave it like that so I could watch the items fountaining in the air every time I'm here, but I better cap it so I don't lose anything. But enough about that. Let's take a look at the finished farm. And through the magic of video editing, here we are. Normally I go for builds that have a lot of high contrast to them, but this time I thought I'd try something a little different. Deep slate is such a versatile block, it's hard not to use. But I thought I hadn't used andesite in a while and decided to give it a go. The room itself is designed around the spawners and the drop chute. These are things that have to go where they are, so once those were in place, I did my best to make use of the space between them to try and make the room design look intentional, like I had intended this from the start. But the reality is, it's more, this is what I can do with it considering the elements I can't change. And I like how it turned out. I really like how the ceiling has a weird reverse shadowing effect going on. It's hard to tell which blocks are inset and which actually stick out. I don't know, I like it. The item storage is located where it is so that if I am anywhere between the kill chamber and storage, both spawners will still trigger. As far as the item sorting goes, I have 2 stacks for bones, 1 stack for arrows, and this stack here is for slow arrows. Now you might be wondering how I achieved that, so let's take a look. And here is where the magic happens. As you can see, it's just regular skeletons coming over here But to convert them into strays, all we have to do is place a couple of powdered snow blocks at head height. It's crucial that it's at head height because what's turning them into strays is this cobweb right here. Now, obviously, it's the powdered snow that turns them into strays, but you need the cobweb to hold them in the snow long enough for the change to happen. Now, the reason it's important to have the snow at head height is sometimes you'll have a skeleton come along with leather boots. If the snow is at their feet, they won't fall down and there will just be a massive log jam of skellies up here. But that's all it takes. Just a couple of powdered snow blocks and a single cobweb, and I get strays out of the spawner. Now, whether I ever put those slow arrows to use or not remains to be seen. I just wanted to give this a try and see how it works. And there you have it. I turned the double Skelly spawner into a Skelly stray farm. Now over here, under item storage, I installed a trash can because one of the things about a Skelly farm is you are very quickly overwhelmed by all the arrows and bows you get. When those levels get too high, I just pop them into this chest and off they go into lava. Over here on the side, I have a small collection of gold, leather, and chainmail armor. Why, you ask? Why not, I say? Mainly because I'm a hoarder, I hate throwing anything away, but also in case I want to do armor stands, it's nice to have these items on hand later on. But that's it. That's my Skelly farm completely done. But while I was finishing this up, something happened on Discord. But now I don't know about you, but as soon as I read that, my brain went into overdrive on what a proper response would be. Got any guesses? While you guess, let's cue that time-lapse music, Mr. DJ Man. Now, I think that's a fair response, don't you? This time, since Gobspit's base is floating, I thought it would be funnier if the billboard were somehow floating as well, so I added the balloons. After building the first billboard, I think I have this down to a science now, but hopefully there won't be any need for any more billboards. But I think that's where I'm going to cut it today. I hope you enjoyed the video because, well, I enjoyed making it. But until next time, I have been Gragore, and this has been AlphaCraft. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, always try and find a way to make it fun. See ya!